Hello and welcome to Season 2, Episode 6 of Modular Curiosity. In this episode today, we are going to build this patch from scratch, from the very beginning all the way up to this. Now, since this is actually a patch I built a couple days ago, and we're going to try to replicate it, because of the ephemeral nature of modular synthesis, we may not get exactly the same sound, exactly the same patch. But we're going to get something really cool. We're going to get something very similar. So let's go see how we did that. Okay, so what do we have here? Well, it's really based off this quad Euclidean rhythm. And I did a 10-minute module for talking rack heads on this module. And I put a link in the description below to our quick 10-minute introduction to what this module does. And basically, it sets up a number of steps, and each of the 4 channels can have a different number of steps. And then within those steps, which beats are going to be active, which ones are going to send out a gate. And that's all timed to this clock. So I have 4 different resonators, all connected to each of these. And then I also have, off of a 4 and 8 time division, a drum. And these are the auto da fe drum kits, which I believe are now something that needs to be purchased. These used to be free. I liked them so much, I bought it. And here's why. Listen to this kick drum. That's just a good, deep, strong kick. I really like that. And now, how about the claps? And you'll notice that the claps are happening every other beat. So they're happening between the beats of the kick. Now for the resonators, I'm using the yellow mode, and I have 3 of them, actually 4 of them, at 4 different Euclidean rhythms. So let's listen to what each one is individually. And let's see, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 12 steps, of which 4 of them are sending a pulse, equally spaced. And then it sounds like about a 4th up. We have 12, 13, 14 steps divided into 3. And because it's a Euclidean rhythm, we know that this is not an evenly spaced breakdown. We have 3 here, 3 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gaps before this hits. So even though these guys line up, you can see by following the green pulse here that they get out of sync, because I have different lengths and the active pulses are happening on different pulses, different beats. For the last 2, I have 16, but on this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, so it's happening basically on quarter notes. And this one, 1, 2, 3, so it's a really interesting sort of poly rhythm. Although I learned from DivKid that these are not polyrhythms, these are polymeters. What's the next voice? Actually, so that second one is a 5. Yep, that sounds like a 6th. That sounds like an octave. And they're all happening at different pulses. Also, I have the structure being modified here, which gives us those little wispy notes in the background. Like that. And then finally, I have a swell from an LFO being created by the Rampage going to this VCA to the WTX4 voicing of the macro oscillator, which, as you'll remember, is sort of a chord voicing, a 4-note chord voicing of an organ sound. Let's hear what that sounds on its own. We're also changing the timbre. put all those together. And then finally, I was using the accent. You can see how some of these boxes are highlighted. When they're highlighted, the accent kicks off. And I have that going to the damping of my oscillators. And right now you're not hearing anything because I have the attenuators turned straight up to 0. But if I let them kick in a little bit, that's just so cool. All right, so let's build this guy from scratch and see how he did it. So of course we always start with our core audio, and I'm going to go to direct sound speakers. And I love the AS 8-channel mixer. You see it in just about every video that I use it. I put this over here, take the left output to there, right output to here, and then I always tend to check it with an oscillator and pan. Yep, everything seems to be working. Cool. Let's get rid of that. Now I'm going to need a clock, and I'm going to push this even further over because I really don't need to see that anymore. And my favorite clock is the simple clock. Right there. And who does that? I think that's JW. Yeah, JW modules. So let's put that way over here. And now we got to find our key module, which is the Euclidean rhythm. So Euclidean, quad Euclidean rhythm by Frozen Wasteland. That's the guy. Okay. You can see that initially it's set up so that every one of the 4 channels has 16 beats and 2 divisions. So let's go ahead and bring this down. And I don't even remember what it was that we said we were going to do. I remember the last 2 were 16. Let's set this up for, say, 3 and maybe 4 and 3. Oh, actually that's 4, isn't it? There's 3, there's 4. So even though it looks like they line up, because they're different lengths, these are very quickly going to become different outputs. And I really like odd numbers over odd numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And that's 4 over 13. 4 is not an odd number. What if we did 3 over 13? This is going to be interesting. Okay, now we want all of these guys to run on the same clock. So we connect our clock to here. You can see already they're starting to pulse over. And as soon as they hit the end, because they're different lengths, they're going to jump back and loop at different times. Now I need to get my voices. So let's build 3 of those. Audible instruments, resonator, duplicate, duplicate. And let's see, let's just go strum, the output here to strum, and this output to channel 1. Now the green mode is this drum mode. Actually, the green mode over here. On this side, it's how many notes will overlap. If it's green, it's 1 note. If it's yellow, it's 2 notes. But you'll notice it doesn't really change the sound. It gets a little more muted if you go to 4. It's not quite as clear. So let's leave it here. And now I'm going to bring the frequency down. That sounds about right. And now let's mute that and do the same thing. Strum here to channel 2. And the output. I don't know what that note is, but let's think. So I want a fifth. Let's put... There we go, just so I can hear the tuning. And I'm going to go one note more to a 6. And if you want fine frequency adjustments, if there's nothing plugged in to the frequency knob, the attenuverter is a fine adjustment. Okay, now let's bring it back down. And we'll disconnect these strums and reconnect them to individual channels. If we were to speed it up now, we would get some really interesting world beat sort of stuff. But what we're going to do is switch from the green mode, which is the drum mode, to the yellow sound mode, which is this interesting sort of sympathetic string sound. And I'm going to extend the damping a little bit. And perhaps the brightness. Now, it sounds like this one is out of tune. There we go. Now the thing is, the structure is going to change the pitch as well, so I may completely mess everything up by doing this. There we go. Let's play with the position. Something's out of tune. There we go. Okay, I think I found my tuning. Now I'm going to add a fourth one. That's going to be the fourth output. Yep. Sounds like an octave. That one still sounds out of tune. Okay, this time I think I found my tuning. Yeah, that's starting to sound okay. So before we start doing modulation and processing, let's build our drum beat. So we're going to do that with, where are they? The Autodafe drum kits. I need the kick and I need the clap. That sounded odd. And I need the trigger buffer. Trigger buffer. Okay. So every fourth beat, we're going to, as we saw earlier, I'm going to bring it in, and I'm also going to arm it every fourth beat. So I'll actually only play every eighth beat, and we'll put that all the way over here. Cool. Very good. And now every eighth beat of my clock, I'm going to trigger the kick at the 909 sound. Ooh, that sounds better. And that's not exactly what I want. There we go. So I want the arm to happen every eighth beat. The input to happen every fourth beat, but it's going to be ignored every other beat until this arm happens. That makes it bounce back and forth. Very nice. All right. Those guys go over there. Now, what else did we have going? I seem to remember that I had a Bernoulli gate. And if you'll remember, the Bernoulli gate decides how often something will happen. It's sort of a coin toss. So right here, see, as it comes in, flashing here, it comes out. If I move it to the right, it means it's going to pass through slightly less often. Let's see how often that's coming through. There, like right here, you saw that we had a flash up here and nothing out there. So that makes this even more random. So it's going to be happening every fourth beat. However, even those 4 beats are going to occasionally start, occasionally stop. Let's take this and run it through a delay. Let's slow it down. That's an interesting rhythmic pattern. Now let's bring the mix down so we have a little less of the delay. And now I'm going to add an LFO to this structure. To get that sort of effect. So let's take an LFO and have a slow LFO, and perhaps a triangle wave go to my structure. Now nothing's going to happen until I use this attenuverter and say how much of this signal do I want to apply to that knob. I think I'll bring it out a little bit so it doesn't hit quite as often. Perhaps a little more. There we go. Now let's see what it sounds like all as a group. Nice. Okay, so the next thing we did was we used the Rampage to create some cool LFOs. And we used the, let's see, what was it? Audible Instruments macro oscillator on the 4-voice. Where is it? It's up here somewhere. There it is. Okay, output to here. And here, this is actually a chord. And depending on the timbre, it changes the tone. And the color will change the chord. So first of all, let's tune it. There we go. Now let's find a voice here which matches our chord here. Oh, that's interesting. That's kind of interesting. That okay, I like that one. Now, what we wanted to have happen is for this to fade in and out very slowly. Well, fade in and out, that means VCA. So let's go back to fundamentals, use our VCA. And I really like this new VCA. It's very, very simple to use. I'm going to set up a long rise time, a long fall time, have the output go to the control voltage, the output go to my in, and let's see what happens when I trigger it. Maybe there. Okay, so when is this going to get triggered? How about we use our, say, every 4 to a Bernoulli gate and occasionally drop out those 4s and have that go to a trigger. You know, I think I need an even longer delay. And let's see if I really like that chord. Yeah, I like that chord. Okay, now let's use this half of the Rampage to be an LFO. We're going to go to the timbre. Now, nothing is happening because this modulation knob is an attenuverter on that timbre knob. So if I want to hear it go, something like that, I have to allow this voltage to influence that knob. And I do that by turning up the attenuverter. And I think I also had a delay on this. Let's do lots of echoes, maybe with a short time. Now I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and add an LFO. To start modifying some of the structures very slightly. So we'll slow this way down. You know what, I don't want to forget to hit that trigger, so I'm going to put that on every 32nd, just to make sure it does trigger. I'm going to make a really slow LFO waveform. Long rise, long fall. So now let's start playing with the accents. So let's see, let's add an accent. One accent and rotate it, put it say there. Add an accent here and put it there. Add an accent and rotate it to put it say there. Then we'll take the accent out to this damping, accent to this damping, accent to this damping. Nothing is happening because of the attenuverters. As we allow the attenuverters to add this voltage, let's see what happens. And that's it. I think we have something very similar to our initial setup. And of course, it's not going to be exactly the same. As we build it, we're going to get something a little different. What if we played with the chord, played with the tunings? I think there's a lot of interesting ideas that could be done here with the tunings of these three resonators and the tuning of this. And that's it. That is our build a patch for this week. I would love to see what you guys come up with to build your own variation of this patch. Maybe try different sounds on these outputs. Try something like, what does the red mode sound like? Maybe go back to all percussion sounds. right, folks, there's your assignment for this week. Go play with this patch, make it your own. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And even more so, as always, you know what we always say, stay curious. Okay, I'll see you next time.